Well, I don't normally do an instant reaction to a game, but I felt like today was necessary. Um, Looking at the rest of the Rams' schedule, I think 8-8 would be something we should celebrate. Um, our offensive line, which was already woefully pathetic, um, is even more pathetic now. We did get stronger by subtraction. Hopefully, Havenstein's out for the year. I don't want it to be a serious injury because I don't wish that on anyone. Hopefully, it's just going to be like a nagging thing that'll keep him out, and then whoever's in his place, they'll see is actually, an NFL caliber lineman, and they'll tell Rob, you go ahead and sit the rest of this season out, and we'll just pretend like you're on IR, and we'll let you go your own way next year and see what team would be willing to pick you up, being a Super Bowl tackle, and we'll do everything we can to make sure that we frame it like you're a great player and that the injury kept you out. That's what I'm hoping for. So when I say season-ending injury, that's what I mean. I don't mean a legitimate serious injury that's going to keep him out for the rest of the year. I don't wish that on anyone, and you guys know how really little I like Rob Havenstein. I'm hoping it's more of a he's injured for the season situation. Josh Reynolds, on a positive note, Josh Reynolds looks like he may be the best. He might be the second best receiver on this team. Definitely better than people I think expected. And with Cooks being out, and the problem that I've had with Cooks, as much as I like Brandon Cooks, he's catch the ball, go down, and he puts himself in situations to get more and more concussions because for whatever reason, people like to dive at him when he's going down rather than just tagging him. But he's also kind of a one-trick pony. If he doesn't get open deep, he doesn't get open. He's a short guy, and he's great at stretching the field, but Josh Reynolds seems to be able to do a lot. Now, I have some breaking news on the TFT front next week or Monday. Me and Eric are going to do the show Monday. We're thinking, if not in the morning, we might be doing it in the late afternoon. But we'll do a recap show. And then, we'll make our predictions as we usually do. But I have an announcement to make during the course of that game. And after watching this video, some of you are smart enough to probably piece together what's going to happen. Let me just start by saying, this. I don't care. I don't care who you are. If you watch this game and you really believe that Pittsburgh is a good football team, you're delusional. You're either delusional or you're just such a homer that you can't see the writing on the wall. The Rams aren't a very good football team, but I thought that they were good enough to go into a bad Pittsburgh team and beat a backup quarterback who's a growing quarterback. I don't know what to say. Pittsburgh didn't beat us today. The officials did. This game should have been 12-10. Should have been the final score. Maybe it would have been 15-10 or 18-10 because the Rams are kicking field goals instead of, who knows how the dynamics break down if it's 7-7 at halftime. But the bottom line is it should have been 7-7 at halftime. So I'm going to walk through a few things here. How you don't call pass interference on Juju Smith-Schuster on Pittsburgh's touchdown drive is beyond me. It was a obvious and clear push off, get him off his feet, redirected, come back for the football. Under any definition of the law, that was offensive pass interference. No call. Then later on, I don't know if that was actually their touchdown drive or not, but later on, as they're driving, later in the game, they call pass interference on the Rams. As Ramsey was tripping and falling and lost his balance and made incidental contact. So a clear and obvious push off, no penalty. Stumbling and fumbling and accidentally touching the other guy, penalty. Okay. As bad as that is, mistakes happen. Trying to figure out how they want to call the game. And then you have Pittsburgh's second touchdown before half. Now, again, if you're a Steeler fan, or if you're, somebody who doesn't like the Rams, or you were rooting for Pittsburgh in this game and you're not a Steeler fan, if you really believe that that was a fumble and not a forward pass, then again, I'm not the one who's biased. I'm not putting lipstick on this pig. The Rams should have won an ugly football game that they didn't deserve to win, but Pittsburgh didn't deserve to win it either. But when you are given a touchdown on something so obvious and clear as a forward pass, and you don't call it a forward pass, you call it a fumble. First of all, I don't even have a problem with them not ruling it a forward pass until replay could review it. But when it's that obvious, I don't know what dynamic you need to understand what a forward pass is. The ball came out. Now, if that was a fumble, then please explain to me why Mason Rudolph's fumble at the end of the game was an incomplete pass, when that was way more obvious of being a fumble. The ball left his hand entirely. It slipped out. Instead of going backwards, it went forwards. That was the only difference. And whatever. I mean, that was more obvious and looked more like a fumble than the Rams play. So you have that situation. Then you have the tackling of Dante Fowler Jr. on a big completion that ended up getting Pittsburgh their field goal that should never have stood. And the guy was grabbed by the neck, hog-tied, twisted, and tackled down to the ground. And you can't miss that call. Not when you're calling everything on the Rams. And then you have the end of the game. The fourth down play, which should have been first and goal at the 1 yard line for the Rams, but instead they don't call pass interference. When the guy clearly got there early, was holding him, and didn't look back for the football. So not only was it holding, not only was it pass interference, but it was face guarding. They missed all three. And that's how Pittsburgh wins the game. And the Rams played like garbage. I'm not excusing the way they played. But this was not a game the Rams lost. This was a game that officials gave the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's really hard for me to stomach a game like this when every single week we've talked about the officiating. Every single week we talked about how the Lions got screwed against the Green Bay Packers, how the Browns got screwed against the Seattle Seahawks, how everybody seems to get screwed in a close game against the New England Patriots. Every single one of these go-to 6 teams get the benefit of every single call, and they always end up making the playoffs. It's so bad that the NBA should teach the NFL how to officiate. And for me to say that, that's pretty bad. I thought hockey had some of the worst officiating in sports. I thought it was NBA, hockey, and then football was a close third. There's no question anymore. Go back to the Cleveland game. Go back to the Green Bay Lion Monday night game. Go to this game. Go to any other game one of you guys are watching because you're following your teams. How many times this year have the officials been a direct response to the outcome of the game? They're not even hiding it anymore, guys. They're not even hiding it. It is out there in your face, and they're saying, you're going to come pay $1,100 to watch a football game? Stop us. Tell us you really care, because we don't think you do. And people just keep dumping money into this organization. So I'm a believer that if you genuinely feel a certain way, you have two options. You can do something about it, or you can shut up and deal with it. I have reached a point where I need to make one of those two decisions. Now, the National Football League, I told you it's been dead for a while. The analogy that I used is it's a zombie. It's a zombie. It's walking, it's moving, it's dead. That's the only, there's no pulse. It's dead on its feet. It just doesn't know it's dead yet. Now, I watched two games today. Well, I couldn't watch the Cardinals-Buccaneer game. I just couldn't. But I watched parts of it. They would not pan above the wall of that stadium. There might have been 5,000 people at that game. The Pittsburgh Steelers game, they announced before the game started how many tickets were sold. In a 60,000 seat arena or 60,000 seat stadium, maybe it's more than that. Maybe it's 65, 68. Only 19,000 paid in attendance. It's dead on its feet, folks. And the excuse of, well, people are watching the game on TV because it's more enjoyable to watch the game on TV than it is live. No, it isn't. Those days are over. That used to be true. That used to be unequivocally true. There's nothing enjoyable about watching an NFL game on TV. Nothing. Nothing. The talent is subpar. The announcing is pathetically woeful. The officiating is absolute garbage. And the commercials are ridiculous and repetitive over and over and over and over and over. How many times have we watched a State Farm commercial today? So it's not more enjoyable on TV than it is in person. There are so many problems right now, I can't even begin to explain it. My initial reaction is really simple. The Rams' offensive line is even worse than I feared. The Rams' skill players are not as good as we were told. Todd Gurley, don't throw him the ball anymore. Because I don't know what was going on with him today. It's starting to look like a player who doesn't want to be a Ram anymore. And I've said this already, but it's getting more and more painfully obvious that Todd Gurley could care less about this team. And why should he? They could care less about him. Yeah, he's being selfless, and I love that about Todd Gurley because that's the kind of person he is. But he's also not dumb. You're going to pay me $85 million to stand on the sideline and watch Malcolm Brown run? Okay. That just means I get a walk when I retire. That just means that I don't have to worry about the after my playing days injuries cropping up. I'll watch them play, especially behind that O-line. Sign me up for that for days. So I don't blame Todd. You put him in and give him the ball, and he does well. Sean McVay isn't as good of a coach as people thought. I think it's hard for me to call him a good coach right now. It's really hard. You had 2 weeks to prepare for a bad football team in Pittsburgh, and this is the offensive game plan you came up with? One-on-one coverage, Havenstein on Watt? That was your approach? No slide protection? No boots, no rollouts? No focus on the running game? No traps? No screens? No jet sweeps? Just straight drop back into TJ Watts' arms was your game plan. That's what you did for 2 weeks. You sat down in a room, and that's what you came up with? Really, Sway? That's what you got. Okay. I can tell you as a coach, I'm speaking as a coach here. When you know you've been got, there's no worse feeling. When you take the field every day and you know the opponent knows what your weakness is and you have no way to compensate for that weakness, man, that's a helpless feeling. That's a helpless feeling. The problem is the Rams do have answers. They're just not doing them. But the Rams are 5-5 now? 5-4. They got Chicago next week at home. Is Trubisky better than is Rudolph better than Trubisky? Is Montgomery better than the running back by committee we saw? I do know this. The Bears defense is a hell of a lot better than the Pittsburgh Steelers. So what does that mean? Because our offense put up 5 points. Not even. They put up 3 points. That's all we had today. Defense scored the touchdown and the safety. 3 points. Where do you go from there? What do you do? So I made the pick assuming that the Rams are going to attack what the Pittsburgh Steelers are weakest at, and that their offense would, over a 2-week period, figure out the best approach. How do you attack the Pittsburgh Steelers? You do a lot of, it's not hard, do trips to Mika Kirkpatrick's side, former Alabama Crimson Tide, by the way, favorite Tide player in the last 5 years, maybe 10 years for me. You put trips to that side and you flood it and you figure out who's blitzing on that side. You figure out who's staying back in coverage. You have one receiver on this side that goes out. You boot your quarterback with an option to hit the open guy depending on who's blitzing, or the dump off over here and get your quarterback out of danger. You run traps. You run screens. You run the ball in key down and distance situations like 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 3, knowing that they're going to come rushing the quarterback because no one thinks that's a running down anymore, and move the chains. But the Rams didn't do any of that. So I was operating under the assumption that, look, the Steelers' offense was as bad as we thought they were. They put up, I said they would only score 10 points today, and they did. They kicked the field goal, they got 1 touchdown, and that was it. Their defense should never have gotten the touchdown they got. I've already mentioned that. So it's not like I came in here guns a-blazing, praising the Rams as if they're this great football team. But they were better than the team they played today, and they should have won. There's one factor. I didn't take into account the officiating, and maybe I should have. Because it seems like whenever you play the Steelers, the Packers, the Patriots, the 49ers, the Cowboys, or the flavor of the month, which now is the Chiefs. It used to be the Broncos. Before the Broncos, it was the Colts. Basically, whatever team Peyton Manning was on, just follow the line. Once Peyton Manning left the Colts, they didn't get any of those calls. Ask Colt Nation. They know. Their benefit of the doubt and getting the officials to rule in their favor, that left to Denver via free agency when Peyton Manning shipped shores over there. And Denver welcomed the new, they didn't just sign Peyton Manning. They signed 5 officials every game. So now it's the Kansas City Chiefs. Now that's the flavor of the month. Everyone praises Mahomes. Makes you respect teams like Baltimore, who legitimately go out there and win it the old-fashioned way. So maybe I should have seen this coming. But there's only so much I can say when it comes to the officiating. This was the worst officiated game I've seen this year with the Rams. It's not the worst officiated game I've seen this year. That distinction, until further notice, goes to the Cleveland Browns Seattle Seahawks game. That was an embarrassment for the league. It was shameful. The NFL should have written an apology letter and read it on the NFL Network to all of its fans after that game. But did they? No. The announcers doubled down. The experts doubled down, and they attacked the Cleveland Browns for calling it out. And the NFL fined the Browns for speaking out on it. Really? Really? I'll tell you one thing. I'd be must-see TV if I was in the NFL. My post-game press conferences would be way more entertaining than any NFL football game you're paying a ticket to go see, and that crap would be free. Although they may start charging to see me in press conferences because it would be that entertaining. Because I wouldn't be putting up with any of this mess. I wouldn't be conforming, and I wouldn't be playing the game. Because wrong is wrong, and I don't play along with wrong. Evil is evil, and I don't cooperate with evil. I don't care what political affiliation it may be aligned with. And when something is this obvious and wrong, I'm not going to stand by it and be like, well, protect the shield. How can you protect the shield when it doesn't protect itself? It is shameful what the NFL has become. So, breaking news announcement for me tomorrow. I'll be talking with Eric tonight. We'll do the post-game show. I want to do an instant analysis. To the Pittsburgh Steelers fans, I mean no ill will towards you. This has been your life from the moment you were a Steeler fan, if you were born anytime post-1974. So for you, you're used to getting these calls. You don't see a problem. And you don't think that you're getting the calls. You just think, hey, it went our way. And I don't blame you for not thinking, isn't it interesting? It always goes our way. I mean, outside of New England, unless we play the Patriots, but the other 29 teams in the NFL, we always get the benefit of the doubt. The only exceptions are New England, Green Bay, and then maybe occasionally, throw a Kansas City in there or a Seattle if we play them. But other than that, we're going to get the call every single time. But again, that's a par for the course for you guys. I get it. You've always been on the inside. You've never been on the outside. The rest of us, we've been on the outside. The other 26 teams, we've been on the outside our whole lives. And it's old. It's old. It's frustrating because there's no end in sight. You want to talk to me about parity? You can talk to me about parity when all 6 of the go-to 6 teams stop making the playoffs on a yearly basis. When I've got 12 new teams in the playoffs, not every year, give it to me just once, just one time. Then, hell, I don't even need to go that far. If you can give me a year where of the 12 playoff combatants, only 3, I'll go 3 because I think that's happened once. If only 3 of the go-to 6, only half of them make the playoffs and the other half don't, then you could talk to me about parity. Until that happens, you can miss me with that nonsense. There ain't no parity in this league. There ain't. And now you've got these absolute brain-dead morons talking about tanking in the NFL. So you want to take an already awful product, awful, can't even bear watching an entire game. And then when the game is good, I got to get bombed with commercials. So, as far as I'm concerned, I can't believe anybody out there worth their salt could defend what they're seeing right now. I don't know if anybody that's like, you know what I want to see? I want to see the Patriots in another Super Bowl. I want to see another Pittsburgh Steelers New England Patriot championship game. Outside of Pennsylvania and Boston, I don't know of anybody that really wants to see that championship game. Maybe it won't, and it probably won't. Let's be honest. Baltimore or Kansas City against New England. I would love to see Baltimore versus Kansas City for the championship, for the right to go to the Super Bowl. But I highly doubt we're going to get that. So as far as I'm concerned, this is typical. And if you think I'm the only one frustrated, James, I'm giving you a shout out right now. James texted me during the game. He said, I'm watching the game. Our O-line is pathetic at best. Totally agree with him. I responded, the officiating is even worse. He responded with, at Total Football Talk, it's so biased it makes me want to puke. The game is corrupt for a long time now. I have been, and I when Eric's on tomorrow, I will have Eric. I will pin Eric down and have him give you a time so you can see how long I've been saying this. Fans, a lot of them walked away from the sport over the Colin Kaepernick nonsense. Absolute BS garbage. You don't have the ability to tell the fans that we're going to protest the flag and then promote the troops. Because troops don't protest the flag. So you had all of that going on and fans were like, I'm done. And they walked away. Hashtag walk away from the liberal party, the Democratic Party. We had hashtag burn your jersey from the NFL. So a lot of fans have reached the point of no return. When you get there, you have two choices. You can shut up and take it, or you can do something about it. What is that something that you could do? Well, there's a whole myriad of things that you can do. Myriad. I said myriad. That's not even a word. There's a whole bunch of things you can do. We'll discuss that on the next show. Eric and I will do a show recapping today's games. But I wanted you to know exactly how I feel about this monstrosity that took place today. For the first time this year, I'm not railroading against the Rams' performance because as bad as they played, the officiating lost the game for them. And all of those people that go, as officials never cost you a game. Yes, it does. When the Rams won the championship game last year against New Orleans, and that absolute horrendous pass interference penalty that wasn't called, that cost the Saints the game. Okay? Eric continues to argue, run the damn ball, it doesn't come down to that. Regardless, I don't disagree. I said it was a bad call then. I've also been saying for a very long time, this is a problem. I'm not doing this today because the Rams lost. I talked about this for the Cleveland Browns. I talked about this for the Detroit Lions. I talked about this for every time I've seen it. Every time it's taken place. And we're 9 weeks into the season, and we've talked about the officials, 5 times? 4 times in a 9-week segment? That's too much. Saint fans, you know what it's like. And if you're an honest fan, you're going to look at what you went through, see what's happening to all these teams today and go, enough is enough. They didn't learn anything from their mistakes. They made a rule that no one's going to enforce, that no one's going to abide by because the officials are in charge of it all. And the NFL could still get their mandate. And what does the NFL say? Well, the officials need to start taking that pass interference thing. They're not even talking about it. The announcers are, the media is, but the NFL's like, nah, it's fine. Because they're in on it. Taking up enough of your time. Tomorrow, I just want to give you my thoughts on the POS, formerly known as the NFL.